And let's get to the details now. Investors in a failed presidential special initiative under the Mahama administration aimed at boosting local poultry production say they'll petition President Akufo-Addo after unsuccessful attempts to get the Agric Ministry to refund more than 6 million Ghana cedis sunk into the project. Industry players have warned the sector face imminent collapse following the collapse of the Ghana Broiler Revitalization Program, which was launched in 2014. The program required government to help cut down on importation of poultry products by 40%, with private investor Boris Baidu investing 8 million cedis. This has not been done, and the investor says government still owes him 6 million cedis. Well, I've been speaking to Vice Chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association, Napoleon Ajimai-Odro, as well as Boris Baidu, who is the investor.
The quest to revive the broiler production in the country started when even the former president of the state, His Excellency John Mahama, who was then the vice president of the country. Then he became the president. So the deputy minister representing him, we got in touch with her, and we all agree
if you
that...
could ask some names. Which deputy minister was it?
Dr. Louisa Hanabisi.
Okay.
She worked with us to revive the broiler production in the country. As a result, government was going to release some funds for the production of the broiler meat in the country.
How much are we looking at?
We were looking at 39 million Ghana cedis, and 21 of that was going to go for processing plants. But 14 million was going to go for the rearing of the chicken in terms of payment for feed, day-old chicks and drugs. And about 4 thereabout also for apprenticeship for people who understudy old farmers and eventually become poultry farmers. So we waited and waited, and the money wasn't coming. So the association approached Mr. Boris B, and he's a major stakeholder in the industry, so he agreed. He did not just agree in front of the poultry farmers. He wrote to the ministry, and the ministry accepted him and thanked him for coming in to finance the project.
Okay, help me to understand this. You approach an individual, you ask him to put in this amount of money, and then he wrote to the ministry?
Yes.
How does that work? Shouldn't you rather be the ones writing to the ministry as an association rather than as an individual?
Well, we had already worked with the ministry, but unfortunately, their side of the deal, releasing of funds from EDIF, wasn't coming. So we approached him, and the best thing was for him to write to introduce that, yes, I have interest in this, and I'm ready to finance the project.
I would find that a bit curious that you wouldn't do that as an association. First of all, what was the reason government gave you for the delay in the release of funds?
Well, we along the line, we received letters from EDIF declining the request that was made by the deputy minister or the ministry to EDIF to release the funds for the production based on whatever reasons best known to them. But in short, before even that decline, Mr. Boris B had agreed to help us finance the project, still waiting for the funding from EDIF, because at the pilot, about 1 million bears wasn't going to be up to 39 million, but it was supposed to be the pilot phase in Ashanti region. And after that, we were going to continue with the whole thing. Remember, government has said that they were going to cut the import of chicken into the country by 40%. And it was meant that before somebody brings in chicken, you will have to procure 40% of what you have to bring from outside. So it was based on that we kind of launched the broiler revitalization, just to create or make up for the gap if government was going to cut 40% of whatever it's supposed to bring in. So Mr. Borisby was going to finance 1 million.
I'll come back to the financing, but what was the revitalization, the entire program supposed to do? I mean, take me through a very quick outlook of what that program was all about.
At the time, poultry farmers in Ghana were only producing 5% of the chicken we consume in the country. 95% come in, and that is a serious situation for the country. So poultry farmers have all along been working with the ministry. So ministry agreed that if we should really take charge of broiler production in the country, then something must be done. And I mean, it's all about pricing. At the point, we weren't very competitive in terms of pricing. So to be able to strengthen the poultry production or broiler production in the country, let us restrict import. And that is normal with any country. So we realized even with the 40%, we're going to create about 61 million birds. And the anticipated job creation from that alone was just a lot. Taxes that will be paid, so many things. So that is how come broiler revitalization started. And Deputy Minister kind of agreed, or the ministry agreed, and she launched it at Kama. All stakeholders were available, including Mr. Borisby. So it was a nice concept. And to be honest, it wasn't even an attempt between the association and the ministry. It was a cabinet decision to revitalize broiler production in the country, which we have a letter to Minister Haruna Idrisu, then the Minister for Trade, signed for EDIF fund to come and help broiler revitalization of the country.
So if I understand you clearly, there was a program. Government has decided to revitalize, the poultry industry, and they have decided to cut some imports.
Restrict import.
And so the association saw this as a great opportunity, and then you decided to invest in it. You got in touch with the Trade Ministry. They had a letter, gave you a letter, and told you that EDIF will send you some money. The Deputy Minister for Agriculture then, Dr. Hannah Bisu, launched the program, and so it was like an institutionalized program. And so you have the confidence that the 6 million that the Borisby farms had put in would come back to him with some profit.
Exactly.
And then from there, you heard from the EDIF declining to pay.
Yes.
What reason they did not give you?
Well, reasons best known to EDIF and the ministry.
Did you make an attempt to find out why? Because you can't just be given a story that we won't pay you monies when you are entitled to it without any appropriate explanation, and you would take that lightly.
Well, I mean, just to pick one of from the lot, EDIF was saying that instead of making the whole thing like a compact, why don't you ask the individuals involved to apply themselves? Like somebody was going to invest into processing plants, tell the person to come and apply so that we can hold the person responsible for the amount that is being released.
Okay.
Tell Borisby or any other private man that is interested that, okay, just come and apply for the 40 million available for the rearing of the chicken, and we'll give it to you. And of course, I know Mr. Borisby did that. As to whether he got it or not, we are not
sure?
up. Yeah, we are not.
Well, it's good. It's a good thing that he's here with us. What assurances were you given before you decided to put that huge amount of money into this investment?
Thank you very much, Gifty. I think for the first of all, I would like to let you see this document here, which was the cabinet's directive given for the production of chicken in this country. And I think 39,539,500 Ghana cedis was supposed to be used in producing this broiler project. So when the farmers approached me, it seemed like they were having delays in having the money.
Okay.
So
it seemed like.
Yes. They were not having the money coming. Money was not forthcoming. Okay,
but had there been an agreement between themselves and the EDIF or government that money will come to them?
They have been pushing the government that they want to produce broiler in the country. And now cabinet decision has come out with 39.5 to be released to the farmers, of course, to produce this whole broilers. And that was 21.342 was going for processing plant, 14 million was for the day-old chicks, feed, vaccines and stuff, and then 3.430 was also for outgrower apprenticeship. Now, when they approached me, of course, I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Agric to verify what it was. So the ministry, after the letter to the ministry, the ministry invited me on the 30th of June 2014. And then we all deliberated on the issue. That was the farmers, the ministry, and myself on how we're going to do it. Okay, awaiting the funds to come. So after all gentleman agreement made, of course, amongst us, there was a luncheon that came up on the 15th of July. Now we've seen the Ministry of Agric, we've decided on what to do. Now, again, the ministry, here, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, the Managing Director of Boris B Farms. So you see funding of startup of broiler revitalization project. Okay, that is funding of a startup broiler revitalization project. And we're going to do a pilot phase. So we were going to do 1 million to test the market to see how things were going to go. And that was the reason why the government assigned 39 million for this project.
So government assigned 39 million for this project, but the money was not forthcoming.
Exactly.
So you decided to put in 6 million.
So when we put more than that. It was actually 8 million for the production, 8 million and change. Then when we finished the project, the sales proceeds that came into my account as money, I was not the one who was selling the chicken. It was an agreement between the farmers, the Ministry of Agric. I was just the financier.
Okay.
I was being instructed to pay what I have to pay. It was headed by the regional, APD director in Ashanti region, Mr. Elikumache, and also Mr. Akofu, the national director of APD. So I was a financier. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture, they were the one who selected the farmers who were actually to produce the chicken. And they were the supervisors, so to say, the referees of the whole project.
Why do you think you're not getting back your money right now? It sounds like a pretty much complicated situation, though.
You see, this is the first time I've ever had in the papers was yesterday. And that is the reason why I've never granted the interviews. I've always spoken good about the industry and how we can better it. And this is the first time I'm rather going detailedly about this whole thing and this whole project. Because I was surprised when I heard that the minister was saying that this whole project was something that Boris B Farms was just organizing or doing with the poultry farmers without her knowledge.
She didn't specifically say it was without her knowledge. I think the point she made was that it was not necessarily a Ministry of Agriculture collaboration per se. You went ahead with it and then you told them about it and they accepted it. Was that not how it happened?
I want to draw everybody who is listening to me to go on www.borisbgh.com. That is my website. You will see the full video of the whole luncheon and the exact words the minister came out with. She said, the Broiler Revitalization Project is an initiative of the Republic of Ghana through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in collaboration with the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, and thanking me as a financier. And she specifically said the long waiting was not in vain. That means a long waiting for the 39 million to come. And I prove it here. If you go here as further, when we have started the program already, the ministry wrote to EDIF requesting for the funds. Okay? And then if you read here, she writes here, the project has already started and urgently needs a grant for everything.
So he refers to some denials by the former Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Dr. Hannah Bisu. Well, here is Dr. Hannah Bisu at the launch of the Broilers Revitalization Project earlier on, captured on tape.
Let me first of all give thanks to the Almighty God for having brought us this far to be witnesses of this occasion. And I'll say, Ebenezer, this is how far the Lord has brought us. Mr. Chairman, guided by the principle that whatever is worth doing must be done well, our earlier intention to kickstart the project was shared to enable us address the concerns of all the major stakeholders in Sussex. Upon hindsight, we are satisfied that the long period of waiting was not in vain. This day marks an important beginning for our dear nation to once again take the destiny of our poultry industry into our own hands. I'm overwhelmed with delight because I do sincerely believe that increasing local livestock and poultry production in the country is the way forward in ensuring not only self-sufficiency in meat production, but also the creation of employment opportunities for our youth in alleviation of poverty, ensuring better health for our people, and conservation of foreign exchange used in importing huge quantities of frozen meat into the country. Ladies and gentlemen, for your information, the Broiler Revitalization Project is an initiative of the government of the Republic of Ghana through the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in collaboration with the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers. Mr. Chairman, permit me at this juncture to commend Boris B. Farms and Veterinary Supplies Limited for the company's acceptance to finance the production of the first batch of 1 million birds. Such a timely intervention by the company has injected a new breath of life into the project. I wish to also state that this is not the first time that Boris B. Farms and Veterinary Supplies Limited has come to the assistance of our farmers.
Dr. Hannah Bissell is former Deputy Agricultural Minister. Well, meanwhile, the poultry farmers and the investor have ruled out legal action. For now, they are considering a petition to President Akufo-Addo.
What we are saying here is that where is that money?
Okay.
The money, because the farmers approached me and I seen a good, and if you go back.
But Mr. Ajima just said that letter to the EDIF wrote back to you and indicated that they're declining to pay.
I'm going to show you, Gifty. So here, if you read here, it states here, I want you to read this line, this last line.
So the Association of Poultry Farmers okay, so let's start from... I am writing to convey to the Export Trade Agriculture and Industrial Development Fund EDIF for the favorable consideration of the board at its forthcoming meeting the proposal of the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers for a broiler meat production revitalization project prepared in collaboration with the Poultry Production Technical Committee of the Ministry, and it goes on and on and on.
Which is of high national
priority. So that's fair enough. So you're establishing, what the point you're establishing here is that the ministry cannot exclude itself from this arrangement. Fair enough.
The farmers and myself and the minister went to the Flagstaff House. We ought to meet the president.
What did the president say?
His blessing.
What did he say?
Oh, he was very happy that something of that sort after the cabinet decision was going to be done.
So why?
And it was a presidential special initiative.
Why? Do you believe that the money has been disbursed?
Well, from the letter that came from EDIF, let me show you.
Can we have a look at that letter, though?
You see, from the letter that came from EDIF, you see here, after they've written to them, they also wrote back to the ministry.
Okay, so let me just hold this up.
Exactly.
And then you can go through it for me.
And then they specifically stated that they were not going to give their money to a different entity. Rather...
Which is a different entity, in this case, you?
They see the Ministry of Agriculture as a different entity, and EDIF is also a different entity.
So EDIF is saying they will not pay the money to you?
No, to the ministry.
EDIF wanted to pay the money to you?
No, EDIF are not going to pay, they are not going to pay the money to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Rather, they are asking people, all the stakeholders, to apply.
Individually?
Yes, but that was not the case. That was not the case because the Ministry of Food and Agriculture was supposed to do what? Do everything, and we had an agreement.
So the ministry, were you aware whether or not the ministry had an agreement with EDIF in the first place?
from the cabinet's decision directive.
Then why did EDIF decide not to pay? Do you know?
That is something that baffles me a bit. Why? Because if cabinet has decided to give, this money for this project to be done, and farmers have approached the financier, and we have started now, and even the minister, the deputy minister, has written and also stated that the project has already started. So why then can it be declined? That means we are going against the cabinet's decision. And here, if you look at the cabinet's decision, he says, "I write with reference to the cabinet directive for increase of local production of selected food items, including poultry, in response to His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama's call for the reduction of the high import dependency of these products, conveyed as per letter 18th May 2014.
What are your suspicions? You sound as if you have some suspicions about where the money is, who has the money, and when it's coming to, it's going to get to you.
Well, my point is that, you see, it is not everything that we decide. Of course, meetings that have been held, stakeholders meeting, if you watch the video as I've mentioned, you will see how all stakeholders came together. And of course, we discussed and how everybody, the whole entire nation, on all networks, everybody was so happy. That we're going to do such a program. And that we are going to have jobs for people, the youth are going to have employment, and that was my passion, actually. My mother has been a maize distributor ever since I was born. My father was a poultry farmer. I'm actually the first poultry farm in the Jesse district. And I came to Ghana back from Germany just to do this business. And also, right now, we have 16 branches across when we are supplying almost 60% of the poultry farmers in Ghana with feed ingredients.
So where do you think the money is?
Well, that is something I want the media to find out.
I want the media to find.
I believe that once a directive has been given, and 39 million is going to be given to the poultry, and the surprising thing was that the pharmaceuticals people, those times had their money.
Okay.
So why the poultry industry? Why not?
Let me find out.
Besides everything, Gifty, production was so fantastic. The farmers did very well. And that is why I don't side with anybody when they say we cannot do it. We can. Yes, we can. I always.
Production was going on very well because you put in that money, because you started that revitalization project?
Not because of that. Because I've been in this industry for long, and I'm an agent to most big companies abroad, and I believe I see what they are doing, and I see what my farmers here are doing, and I believe they can do same.
So are you saying the point that you were making about production booming, etc., was it because of that revitalization project? And if it was, the beneficiary farmers, are they not supposed to pay you back the money?
The beneficiary farmers, if they could pay the money, they wouldn't confront the government for help. And I think there's been a directive being given for the money to be given to them. Okay. And so I believe that there's a chance for some sort of business, to be done in the country to create employment and also for the farmers to benefit. Now, for instance, the reason why we even need to continue this project, the reason why even I'm asking the farmers, and the farmers have been writing to the ministry, and I've been talking a lot about this. It even went to the point whereby myself, Honorable Fifi Kwete, Honorable Hanabisu, and then the crop minister then, we were all before the chief of staff in the Flagstaff House.
What was the outcome?
The outcome was Honorable Fifi Kwete, pleaded with Mr. Deborah that time to bring the case back to the ministry to be resolved. And he asked me to write a proposal, of course, to see how they can pay back the money.
Did you write that proposal?
I did. It's here.
How did it end up?
Give this whole thing to you.
How did it end up?
Nothing, not even a single reply to date has been sent to me. And that is why today, we have to, continue this project. And I believe so much that the government, the present government, the way they are going with the planting for food and jobs, now having 3 major crops, maize, soya, sorghum, in their project would go to the extent of helping these poultry farmers better for us to do what? To create more jobs, to do more broilers, and to create more jobs, and for Ghanaians to consume more chicken.
I'll come back to you. Let me find out from you, Mr. Ajuman. Where is the money?
Well, poultry farmers cannot tell where the money is now because we had a specific role to play in the revitalization thing. Just to provide rearing space for the broilers, that's it. And like you said,
wouldn't you say that it would be a responsibility on your part as an association to look out for your members and to look out for people like Mr. Boris, that you follow the processes with due diligence, just so you know where the money is? Because right now he's stuck. He needs his money.
Well, exactly that's what we're doing, because until August 2016, we received a letter from Mr. Boris B. that he had not been fully reimbursed for the amount he invested. And we made every effort to reach the deputy minister, but he didn't see the need to meet with us. He never met us until he kind of got off the seat. The then deputy minister,
Right.
Yes, we sent a letter to her, and she never saw the need to meet with us. This is, when it comes to our industry, this is a big issue, because for the last 30 years, investment into poultry has been extremely low. So we were very grateful when Mr. Boris B. invested $8 million to revamp the sector. We got to know that up to that date, that's August 2016, he had not been fully reimbursed by the selling committee set up by the ministry that was responsible for the sale of the meat that were produced. And at that date, he had only been given 2 million cedis instead of 8 million cedis. So we approached the ministry just to sit down to see exactly what happened, that the investor had not been able to recoup the investment. And we didn't meet. Today,
Because she didn't show up?
She didn't show up.
Okay.
Well, we sent a whole letter to her, and she didn't show up.
Okay.
And presently, we have sent a letter to the ministry reminding them of such case. You know, she's willing to continue, and we are willing to continue. So,
if you say she, who are you talking about?
He is willing to continue, yes. And we are willing to continue the project. So it's just a matter of sitting at the table to see exactly if some monies were parted, where exactly did the monies go?
Governments have changed, so has priorities. You could say, though, that this government is still passionate about agriculture. One of the major things that they started talking about, indeed, at the initial stages of the formation of the government. So you say you've written to them now. Have you written to them in 2017?
Oh, yes, we've written to them. In February 2017, we sent a letter to them.
What was in the letter, and what was the response?
Well, we were informing him of the move in 2014, and up to 2016, the single financier of the project complained to us that he had not been fully reimbursed. So we should all come to the table and see what happened and how he can get him reimbursed. But up to now, we haven't met to talk about that.
You haven't, if you say you haven't met, you have not had any response from the ministry?
We have not had any response from the ministry.
What's the confidence level that they will get back to you? This is a different government, and we know what happens in this country when governments change. People tend to believe or tend to have the feeling that the people who work with the previous government have some kind of leaning towards that government, and they find it very hard to work with them.
It should be very important to each and everyone in the industry, including the ministry, because like I mentioned, for the last 30 years, no investment to the poultry. And if one person has taken such initiative and he's suffering, it's going to be a big disincentive for the rest of prospective investors in the poultry industry. So it's an issue that we will not just want it to end like that. One will say, well, if he had made profit from that investment, he wouldn't have shared with anybody, so he should go away and carry his own issue. We are not interested. Let us sit down and see exactly what happened and how we can get him reimbursed. Okay. You know,
Sources at the Agric Ministry, meanwhile, have reviewed that the matter has been forwarded to the legal department for redress. In the meantime, though, our efforts to reach the former Deputy Agric Minister, Dr. Hannah Bissell, have been unsuccessful. Member of Parliament for Commenda Samuel Mills is advocating for a ban on the importation and use of chemical pesticides in this country. His comment follows revelations in Joy News' latest Hotline documentary, poison on the menu that some farmers applied pesticides wrongfully, resulting in harm to themselves and their consumers. Here are excerpts of the documentary by Joseph Opoku Gakpo, which airs this evening and tomorrow at 6:30 p.m.
If we don't protect ourselves while spraying, it makes us ill and gives us problems. I'm unable to sleep at night. I get fever. I can't even breathe. My body itches. Then I get headache. I'm unable to go to work for 3 days.
Because of a drone and
And in fact, in the home of rice farmer at Suchware, John Aokujiwanu, they lost their life thanks to the wrongful storage of chemicals.
I lost a cases doctor to insecticide. The farmer went to the farm, came back, and actually didn't store the remaining pesticides that he brought from the farm. So this little girl took it and drank it and died. It became something that I've been pondering over, and I was that girl could have been a lawyer or a doctor. And I was very saddened by that.
But one way or the other, these chemicals find their way into the diets of many as a result of wrongful application and handling. As the study by Heganana Borough of the KNUST's Horticultural Department reveals, a lot of these chemicals are in the diet you consume every day, usually above the permissible limits.
At the end of the study, it was seen that most of the vegetables contained some traces of microbial residues, and then they also have various pesticide residues. They have various residues in different ranges.
During our program, we realized that most of the farmers were using the chemical containers for keeping salts in their kitchen. Some also were using it for water. And in Nigeria, we have a lot of mosques, so they were using it for their ablution, for praying and those things. And it is dangerous with the chemical container. Even when it is, you triple rinse it, you put water inside, you shake it, and you pour it back into the spraying tank. If you do that for 3 times and you leave it there, it still has some residues in it. It's still considered hazardous.
Most of our tomato farmers think that the tomato, you can get the very red ripe tomato by spraying diethane on it a day before harvest. Diethane is a chemical and needs a certain number of days, if not weeks, to break down. To the farmer, it helps the tomato to attain that very red ripe status. So he puts it there. So most of us will go to the market, we'll pick tomato, and you see this yellowish powder on it. And sometimes I ask myself, how many of us really take time to wash this tomato before consuming it?
A recent report by the Northern Presbyterian Agricultural Services documents how in 2010 alone, 15 persons in the Upper East region died from suspected pesticide poisoning, according to the Regional Health Director for Health. In order to contain the problem of food contamination, there is a push for a ban on the application of chemicals to food production. Samuel Atamils is a farmer and the Member of Parliament for Commander Edina Egwafa-Brim.
My recommendation is we need to ban these things. We need to get to organic farming. And before anybody...
ban what exactly?
Ban the importation of these things.
The pesticides?
The pesticides. And anybody who is going to handle this should be a qualified person who knows how to handle it. And we shouldn't be, dependent so much on these things. Most of the advanced countries have banned all these weedicides. But then they need to make money, so they send it to